some other stuff to dilute it so you make a better profit. But this guy brought in at least 500 million doses of cocaine into the country, and Trump let him out of prison after a year and a half.
So let's point out the reality of the situation. It's not about drugs. This is not about drugs. Rick, you're by the computer, and
okay. Yeah.
Honestly, Sasha, I think, is in the background. Hopefully he pops back in as well, because it's the same thing with Ukraine. Trump, we all know, is a transactional president. He doesn't care about drugs and all this other stuff. He wants to get himself enriched, him or his family. He wants to stay in power. He doesn't want to be checked by anything. So, Rick, Venezuela. That's where he wants to go to war with. What are the oil reserves of Venezuela in comparison to the world? What rank are they? Are they top 10, maybe top 5 in terms of oil reserves?
Aren't they? Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves. Number one,
so,
at a third of a trillion barrels. A third of a trillion. That's freaking.
So with those oil reserves, that means Maduro is in charge of, he doesn't own it. I mean, yes, he's probably enriching himself. Maduro's a corrupt individual. There's nobody defending Maduro. However, Maduro still is the leader of another country. So Trump being transactional, Trump having backers in the oil industry, as we know that he does. And if we do a regime change in Venezuela, do you think we could tap those oil reserves?
We could make a deal. I mean, there's several things going on. All right, so they got a ton of oil. Trump doesn't like Maduro's a dictator. He's on shaky ground because he was elected he didn't get a majority of the votes. Some of the other candidate did, but Maduro rigged the election. And Venezuela only has 28 million people. So if you're going to go to compared to other drug countries that we might go to war with, Mexico, 160 million people. China, 1.4 billion people. Venezuela has 2% the number of people of China, even though China's maybe our number one fentanyl supplier. So yeah, Trump is going to go after the little guy with the huge oil reserves.
Exactly. So remember when we went into Iraq and everything over quote unquote yellow cake, and wanted to, and even Trump, when he was running for office, said that he wouldn't have gone in unless he could have the oil. Yeah. We're now at a position where he's trying to go to Venezuela and take the oil.
Background. So we went in, so in 1991, the first George Bush had a 4-day war to kick Saddam Hussein out of Qatar. And then apparently Hussein learned his lesson and wasn't developing. He was killing his own people a lot, but he wasn't getting ready to develop new. Yellow cake refers to a form of uranium that the second Bush and Dick Cheney claimed was being stockpiled in Iraq. This turned out to be a lie. We went to war there after 9/11, even though Hussein had nothing to do with it. Cost us $1 trillion and thousands of American lives, and it cost the Iraqis 1 million lives because it set off a civil war. So yeah, that was a freaking mess.
So yeah, so basically now we're at a position where we're going to war again over quote unquote drugs with a country that has the largest oil reserves. When you have a individual who's extremely transactional, runs the country like it has oligarchs, Elon Musk, so on and so forth. Now, I mean, again, it gets to the point of
all right. Let's get to other stuff though. So Trump last night, in the middle of the night, stayed up and tweeted on Truth Social, his Twitter, 162 times. The president is staying up late and just tweeting crazy crap more than 150 times, which is weird.
Yep. It's because I mean, what we have is somebody who has to stay in contact with his base constantly, or else his base will be lost and begin to ask questions. So if he keeps flooding the zone, all his base does is just parrot everything that he says. There is no questioning. There is no, hey, let's go back and look at this. No, I'm going to keep flooding the zone so you don't think about what I just talked about.
Well, I mean, I'm on Twitter all the time, and I've noticed MAGA has been pretty quiet lately because Dr. Sharif, we haven't heard from Dr. Sharif.
Yes, wonderful. He's pretty quiet, but as I say, there's two sides.
Wait,
but Dr. Sharif, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Okay. So anyway, we should have you weigh in on something, so it's not just the let's say bad things about Trump hour.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You want my comments about Trump issues or
no, like anything, maybe probably not about Trump, because most of the stuff that we're talking about is Trump. And we can't have it can't be Trump all the time.
Okay. I just want to share some of the good things. Like recently we published a very good book in Bangladesh and in USA. It's based on Green Family Action, like how the like different kind of actions will help to develop a better family. So when I work with Professor Dave and me for these particular issues and World Talent Economic Forum, so we build up different innovative solutions. We build up different startup, and we find that it has a very positive things. What I always discuss that the California startup, they do focus on emerging economy. So when I introduced this solution, Green Action Book, also I introduced this Kokoro, this Wisdom app. I find that different religious institutions like mosque, they become very interested. I never thought that they will be very interested. And today we deploying these things with 800 members. And I find that even the mosque, even though it's a religious institutions, they are thinking positive way, they are thinking in effective way, and they are thinking that how they can collaborate with Western world. So this is the things I just want to share. Some point I find many of our Western friends, this is logical because they has to face all of the 111s or 911s and all of the negative things, but they have Islamophobia. They think that those who are religious or something, they are not advanced, they are not educated, and they do not like the Western world. So I believe that this is one of the opportunities we can develop a better society, better world based on knowledge sharing, based on open business opportunity, based on even Port TV, like how we can come together, discuss together, go for the global dialogues, collaborate together. This is a platform, and this can be a very good example for this global community. So I write also a book. It's called Silk Route 3.0, how the global North and global South, Asia, and this North American community and European community can work together, and they can build new innovations and they can build new business. Overall, one thing is very important for me, how I see this Western world leader, even though Trump, definitely, I respect him, taking all of the initiative and other things. As an intellectuals, I request all of the Western world intellectual that you should understand this global culture and community in an effective way. All of the people are not terrorists. All of the immigrants are not bad. All of the developing nations or third world country, not bad. Every country has better opportunities. Every country has good men. Every country has knowledge-oriented society. So I believe this Pot TV, how you developing your dialogue and shows, maybe in the future you can organize more show based on Bangladesh, based on India, based on Saudi Arabia, based on Africa, or based on Brazil. By this way, we can understand each other's and we can understand the cultures. And this is very, very important. Through these shows, we need to develop better leaders for this world. So hopefully, Nick, you are a great man. I know you are a great scholar, great professor. I always love your support. Hopefully, your Pot TV, not only a media, it's like a catalyst. It's like a leadership development platforms. Hopefully, we can collaborate more cultures and more diversified issues. And you say, I hear from you, the Western world, large media, they never care about Bangladesh, but you care. Western world, large media, they never care about Africa or India. You care about these things. So why don't you make it big? You make it more productive. You make it more innovative. That is my request to Nick Balbeda.
All right. So back to the U.S. There's a special election in the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee today. This is a district that Trump won by 22 points last year. But the race has, according to the last polls, has only a 2% difference between the Republican and the Democratic candidate. So if the Democrat manages to pull it out in a district that Trump won by 22 points, that will be cause for or even makes it close. That'll be cause for celebration for Democrats who want to take back the House next year. So,
yeah, there's a bunch of infighting in the U.S., Dr. Sharif. Oh, by the way, also I did check out Bangladesh. Here's something very interesting about Dhaka, the city you're living in now. It will become the largest city in the world by 2045. Okay, already Tokyo was supplanted by Jakarta and Dhaka. So it's right now the second largest city in the world, but by 2045, it'll be the largest city in the world.
I just Googled it. The population of the Dhaka, oh wait, is this, no, oops, it gave me the wrong, is that?
Yeah, it's scheduled, I think, in 2045.
All right, anyway, so Dhaka right now has between 25 and 36 million people.
It's huge.
So what's it like to live in Dhaka? It seems like it would be really a pain in the butt and also really fun because you can probably go to any kind of restaurant and get anything. What's Dhaka?
And it gets no love in the United States. Here you got a city, Rick, that has a population of 25 million. You got to imagine it's twice as big as LA County.
Well, LA is great because you can get almost anything in LA. You might be on the freeway for 2 hours.
Yeah,
but big cities are awesome because
I know. But I live in a big one, Barcelona, but it has 6 million people, which is pretty good. But Dhaka has like 25 million people. It's absolutely huge. Yet when it comes to getting reporting, like on media, it gets no media at all, none at all. I mean, it's like Africa now, because I'm listening to the BBC being in Spain. They actually have Eye on Africa. They actually have an African, how do you say it, show. So the BBC does it. CBS, NBC, and ABC here are out to lunch. You don't even see them. I mean, I can't get ABC, CBS, or NBC, or ESPN. All the American things are gone. I can get BBC and CNN, and BBC does a special on Africa. But let me tell you who does a special on Bangladesh. Nobody. Or India, forget it. China, China where? Okay, we hear about them every now and then. So it's kind of amazing, Dr. Sharif. It's good to see you from Asia because you're an Asian representative. That these other channels ignore, at least in the United States, they ignore Asia, and frankly, even in Europe. That thing gets me. I mean, Europe's a little bit more, connected to the world, but with that part of Asia, they ignore it. Now, there is something also interesting that came out in the news. Where they're getting a lot of traction is Phuket, Thailand. They had You'll love it. There's 2.8 million people that fly. 2.8 million people fly annually from London to Phuket, Thailand. So many people are going to Phuket that Air France has now bought a 777 to run a nonstop from London to Phuket, Thailand, because it can go that far nonstop. By the way,
The Britons love going to sunny countries because right now in Britain the sun goes down at like a quarter of 4. Yeah. It's so yeah, people get away.
Yeah, well, Britain as far north as like Calgary. I mean, it's like people don't realize how far north. London is like Calgary. It's like way up there.
Yeah, that's why we some of our greatest Christmas literature comes out of England with Charles Dickens, because the days are so short and wet and just miserable that Britain had to go crazy with Christmas. So you spend the holiday season full of really good food and drunk.
Yeah, well, that's the reason the British Empire really expanded, is because it really sucks to be in Britain. So they figured they'll go and take over their countries so they don't have to live there year round. So yeah, because Britain, I looked at that as a place to live, but I couldn't handle the weather. I was going, and the depressing fog that comes over the British Empire, even during the summertime.
Yeah, my wife is freaking out. We're going to visit our kid, and she's like bringing out the long underwear, and she's like worried about me, and like, what are you going to do? And like that we're it's going to be 48 degrees Fahrenheit, like we're from LA, and how are we going to deal with that?
Oh, that's warm in Britain. It's 48 Fahrenheit. It may even get colder than that.
Well, yeah, but we'll be okay. You run from place to place.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then the thing is, you have an ultimate escape. You're going to fly out of there. You're going to fly eventually leave. So it's like I said, it's kind of a different story to be there. But Spain, like I said, is getting a lot of people coming in. I think it's like California was back in the 40s or something like that. In other words, just where people are moving in because the weather's good.
Yeah. All right. So here's more news off of Drudge. Mom and pop business bankruptcies hit a record. So our economy
in the U.S.
is a little bit hollowed out.
Yeah.
Like the
thing is, the money isn't circulating, Rick. Here, like the realities, and this is a hard reality, and I don't know why they don't teach this in school. They say, hey, everybody, come to school. Okay, let me tell you basics, economics 101. Half the people in the United States have 2.5% of the assets. The top 1% has 30%, and the top 10% has 66%. Okay, so if you're in the top 1%, 10%, you're doing good. If you're in the bottom 50%, you have nothing in the U.S.
No, 94% of the of the assets held by individual Americans are in the pockets and bank accounts of people 45 years old.
Right. Okay, so you have to be older and in the top 10%, and then you're okay in the U.S. But let's get real. Half the population is broke in the United States. Half the and they say, well, they don't pay taxes. That's because they're broke. Okay, they have no money. And it makes it really hard for even small business like me to work with people, because if I had 100 people come to a financial seminar, 50 of them are broke. So I can't even work with them. And then the next 30 have some money, but not a lot. So I have to pick out one person who has all the money and work with them. And the 99 I have to dismiss.
People in the bottom 50%, they have all these jobs that really aren't jobs because they're so shitty, like Uber driver and selling stuff on eBay and showing their boobs on OnlyFans. There are a lot of the economy is built to the extent that it's built on these crappy semi jobs, and it's going to get worse. The three of us here, except for Dr. Sharif, we are all of a certain age, and the deal is, it used to be you couldn't take it with you. People get into their 70s, 80s, 90s, they pass away, and at least that money goes back into the economy via the people who inherit the money. However, we are gonna, in the next couple decades, we're going to be taking it with us by not dying. There are going to be a ton of ways for people, boomers and Gen Xers, with enough money to buy extra years of life. Like they just put a pig kidney in a guy. The kidney was genetically engineered so that the guy's body wouldn't reject it. And the kidney worked in the guy for 9 months. And then it took 9 months for his body to decide to get rid of it. Now they took it out. Now he's back on dialysis. But for $100,000, eventually the pig kidneys are going to get even better. For $100,000, if you could get another 2 years of not being on dialysis, another 2 years of life, you would buy a pig kidney. And rich older people there are going to be all these opportunities for boomers like us to extend our lives by spending a ton of money. And that's money that's not going to their heirs. That's, it's going to make
it's not going to circulate in the economy. And see, that's the real problem. Money is like blood. And if it circulates, the body moves and does real well. But let's say it gets trapped somewhere, like in old people, which is what's happening. Then all of a sudden, the young people, they don't have access to capital. They don't have access to capital. They have no money. They can't make enough money. It's like they're in they're in a hellhole financially and no chance to get it out. And we see it all the time because, by the way, it also exists in U.S. chess tournaments, which people don't know about. The guy who wins number one makes all the money. Okay, so if you ever go to a chess tournament and you're first place, there's $10,000. Number two prize, $1,000, and you split it 3 ways.
This is what makes me game shows on TV, like where one person walks away with all the money, and it's pretty crappy money. There's a show called Wipeout, where people run through an obstacle course and they fly through the air, they fall 15 feet into water, and it starts off with 24 people. And they all get the crap beat out of them. Some of them get injured. This is a primetime show, used to be on ABC. And only the winner walks away with something like, I don't know, 20 grand or 50 grand. Everybody else just walks away with injuries.
Nothing, right. Yeah, and see, that's the U.S. economy. It's based on, it's called winner take all. So even in like our football, which is similar to rugby, the coach, I'm watching the coaching carousel. What, Sasha?
The Winner Takes It All, famous song by ABBA.
Yeah, I know, right. It's a winner take it all by ABBA, but it's true. And then the other thing is that kids should be required to take Monopoly and play Monopoly in school. Okay. And then they'll notice at the end of the day, one person wins, has all the homes, and everybody else goes home burnt.
Yeah,
okay.
Monopoly wasn't developed to be a fun game. The guy who invented Monopoly invented it to show that unfettered capitalism sucks. And
that's right.
The game Monopoly actually sucks. It takes forever. Everybody and people slowly, lose all their money to the guy with all the hotels on Park Place.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They just basically, but it's a great game because it would give kids a basic education on the U.S.
But it's a miserable game. Like half of all Monopoly games end with somebody picking up the game board and just flipping it over.
Okay, they call that a revolution. They had that in Russia. Okay, they had that in quite a few other countries. They had that in Cuba. Okay,
I found out the way to cheat on Monopoly. If anybody ever invites you to play it, come over to my house, play Monopoly. What you do is you go in your attic and you find your old Monopoly game, and you take the cash out of that and you just put it in your pocket, and you go play Monopoly at your friend's house. And as you get squeezed, you just sneak in your own asset.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, a minor legal change in Monopoly can change the whole composition of the game. In other words, as you go through the game, all they need to do is when some guy takes Park Place and has all the things about to win, you redistribute the assets to all the other players. And guess what? The game will continue on and life will be good again, rather than have the winner take all. And see, that's the problem that they have in the US right now, which they don't even know about. As the money's getting sucked up into the 1%, 30% of all assets are in 1% of the population. Getting
And,
close.
it's not great for rich people either, because rich people's livelihoods depend on everybody else buying crap from them.
Eventually, you're right. Eventually, it catches up with them because they go, there's no one to buy our products anymore because they don't have any money. So it's a bad deal. But the real problem is also the Americans' lack of understanding of our winner-take-all economy. In other words, if you're in San Francisco, like Peter Thiel, and you won the lottery because you did PayPal, and Elon Musk, he won the lottery because he did PayPal and he rolled it up. Okay, you have all the bananas. What about everybody else? They get peanuts if they're lucky.
And if you're in San Francisco and you're kind of, I mean, yeah, San Francisco is still a great city, but it's a little, when you go out, when you leave your $100 million mansion and you want to go out to dinner or you want to go get a burrito, then you have to walk through the city where you're going to see dozens of homeless people,
I think Sharif experienced that when he came to the U.S. He tried to go to Stanford University. He found a bunch of homeless people in San Francisco, thinking that this is the land of gold and silver. It's the land of gold, silver, and a bunch of homeless people because we have a winner-take-all economy here. If you're a winner, you do really well, really, really well here. You can't do better any other place in the world. But if you're just a normal person, forget it.
California is still a great state. We have 40 million people. The standard of living is pretty high, but we have 100,000 homeless people. The 70,000 in LA and 20, 30,000, I think, up in San Francisco. And so wherever you go, you're going to see a certain amount of human misery.
Yeah, it's a difficult problem that's not being addressed adequately. Otherwise, the problem would be solved. They have homeless people here in Spain, but they're very few and far between. I mean, it's really, I saw, I think, one the other day, but I could go weeks without seeing a homeless person in Spain, literally, because they just don't have it. They have a constitutional provision. Everybody has a right to a dwelling. Now, how they enforce it's a different story, but they actually do. In other words, people, in the States, they have constitutional free right to speech, free right to carry a gun, but no right to live in a home. Doesn't exist. So some what I would call basic fundamental rights are lacking in the United States. It's not constitutional that you're entitled to a dwelling, and that's kind of a minimal thing to give people. Really, is a roof over their head. I mean, and there's plenty of places to do it. The U.S. isn't interested in it. They don't mind the winner take all. Start.
Something on different topic. I just read very interesting article, or 3 pages in Toronto Star, the most popular paper in Toronto. And the issue, or at least what they were discussing in that article, was that lying by the top politicians gives them incredible advantages. And some countries, one of them Welsh, and now Canada, are taking upon themselves a mechanism to punish outright lies performed by politicians. They're analyzing all different situations. They're analyzing why lie gives you enormous advantage. Because at the point of your lie, most of the people are convinced that that's true. So they cannot immediately refute it or even analyze it or anything. So let's see if there is an interview of Trump, for example. He says, U.S. economy is flying. The standard of living goes much higher. There is much less unemployment and all other stuff, which obviously is not true. But people listen to that and they make conclusions. Oh, really? Okay, so the economy is doing really well. The people are having a lot of jobs, well-paying jobs and all that stuff. And it will take a while where somewhere underneath of that, there will be analysis at this this is not so. This is outright lie. The unemployment is actually getting higher, but it's lost momentum. People are already busy with something else, so they were fed obvious lies, get advantage thanks to these lies, and move on. And people who were lied to, they move on, convinced that what they heard isn't true. So there are now certain things are being discussed and will be established. I'm not so sure about Welsh, how they're doing well with that. But in Canada, there will be a few laws and implementation against outright lying by the politicians.
Yeah, the U.S. I mean, the U.S. should have something like that on our news channels, where, you know, if you look at a news channel at CNN or Fox, or there's a where or look at this screen here that we're on. There's so much stuff. There's four heads, captions. There's a scroll. There's a clock. There's a logo. We have no problem with absorbing all this information because we're used to it now. So you could run down 1/3 of the screen. You could run a fact check bar where people come on a show, a news show, and they start, a senator, a congressperson, and they start spouting lies. Somebody in the studio is typing away and offers facts that either support or refute what the spokesman is saying.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that in the future, Rick, because of artificial intelligence. When Jacoby was making noise about the Honduran president, so I get on AI to see what the counter arguments are, because there's always a counter argument. I know his belief it's his way or the highway, but that isn't really true. What happens? There's always two sides to everybody's story. The counter argument that showed up on the internet was basically he was a head of state. And basically, their arguments were that he was convicted basically on hearsay as opposed to hard, concrete evidence. So that's the reason for the release. Whether that part is true or not, I don't know, because I didn't watch the trial intimately, etc. But there is a policy that you don't imprison heads of state. So there are counter arguments. Like I said, it's not a one-way street.
That would be great to read on the screen.
I know that, but like I said, in the future you're going to be able to do that because AI. Right now we can't do it because that moving bar below. I can't just throw an AI up there. In other words, where it scrolls across. But eventually you're going to be able to do it, and artificial intelligence will make a big impact on the media. Listen to this, Dr. Sri. It will make a biggest impact on the media, because you're going to be able to quickly do these fact checks using AI. AI is wunderbar when it comes to looking up the reality of things. Now, is it going to be 100% correct when it comes out? No, but will it have a high statistical probability of being correct? The answer is yes, because I fact checked AI, and sometimes I'm going, you're way off and stuff. But as it improves, it's a great source to go to ask and answer questions. You know,
like I was yelling at my conservative friend Lance on our show, and Lance threw out like a number. He said that London is 65% Muslim, and that's ridiculous. And a quick fact check shows that it's 15% Muslim.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They embellish the facts. Is really they'll embellish it, like they'll say it's really what you said, 15%, and someone will say it's 65%. It's not, you know. But I think in the future you're going to see AI being the moderator of the unfortunately the media's incredible lack of veracity, and it's real tough right now. I just fact check everything through media, but like I said, I argue with Jacoby all the time. But even if I showed the facts, he'll ignore it. I mean, he's basically a Republican who's a Democrat, because he reminds me of my Republican friends, because when I show them the facts and I say, well, the Democrats are right, they'll ignore it. And he does the same thing, except he's... But
every time you say something, the screen can say, well, yeah, but maybe this.
Yeah, but maybe that. That's what I'm saying. There's always other...
Yeah, like you make a point, you go this, but the screen can say, yeah, but what about this? Which, like, we don't. I've heard nothing about, the Honduran, exactly why the Honduran. We hear these main talking points and nothing else.
Right. Yeah, you hear talking points. Well, and I don't even know if their arguments are strong to release them. Because when I was even looking through the AI thing, it looked to be kind of weak. But
he got a 40-year prison sentence. You don't give somebody 40 years without compelling evidence.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It does have it does have a little bit of problems in it, and it's just the way it is. But what way it is right now for us is we're going to have to go. I do know we have the Ukraine show coming up. Speaking of looking for the truth, you got to find the truth of what's going on in that war in Ukraine. And World Talent Economic Forum later on. So for those people who are following that, you can see that on the Pod TV network. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully Mark will be joining us, or actually leading the parade. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.